Right then, road trip adventure 3. On this road trip we're heading over to the west of England, and we start a road trip off in a motorway services. I'm just going to show you motorway services quickly, just to show how laughably bad the lift is. And look at the keypad of this staff only lift. Isn't the code obvious? And we go inside the lift and wow, this is bad. And now I drive along to Basestoke and along to a fairly modern block of flats which sadly has Gen 2s. Very disappointing. We tried to get on the roof but sadly it was locked, so we tried the block of flats next door. Sadly also Gen 2s. But on this building we managed to get onto the roof. And along to the shopping centre, which has some Otis 2000s which are quite a bit better quality than Gen 2s. They're in a semi-glass lift shaft. Oh, you know what that means, we've got to surf them. Also, these lifts have a different voice, but still in the same format as the usual voice, as it's got the please select your floor message, which is so odd to hear this message in a different voice.
Please select your floor. Doors closing. Fourth floor. Doors opening.
Let's surf them. And now go along towards Oxford and along to the abandoned Caterham Cars factory. Let's take a look around this abandoned building and see what lifts it has. Oh, it's security come. Luckily we've got a security dog who attacks security.
It's all still charged. Look at that. It's all the way up. All the way up. Go upstairs.
And along to a gated lift, which is an epic, very rare, old ECM Etchells lift, which is a company that was linked to Alderson Campbell. This lift is crazily rare. Let's take a look at it. And up into the motor room.
Yeah, I think all the wires for this building have been cut at the track.
And along to the 1980s or 90s section of the building. And the lift here is a Pickering's. Lift number 2 is a Pickering's from the 80s. So this is from the refurbishment rather than from the original.
This one has the bigger base.
Let's take a look in the motor room. And now we go along to Bristol and along to a burnt out office building. This building has some very rare top of the range old express lifts. Sadly on the lower floors the building's very burnt out and there's not much to be seen.
Ah, that's a bit weird, isn't it? And there's root murals all through here.
Well, poor express, look at that. Look at the express panel.
Now remember, now you've got to speak.
Express has been murdered! Look at the tracks. Murdered! Look at how they make the tracks bend.
V8.
That's the main chassis. Shot, oh, that's the top range model as well. That's the top of the range.
Oh yeah.
And you got a nice upper chassis. Looking like that.
But it's not top of the range anymore.
But oh look, there's a counterweight there. With bent tracks. And
Yeah, that would have been from RP.
He's standing on an old lift which burnt out, and he's standing on it. Mate, do you know you're standing on something that doesn't have cables connected to it?
Well, I'm relying on the track grabs. I'm hoping that they're...
but up in the plant room, the motor room is pretty much untouched and it's got very epic top of range DC generator lifts with a very advanced version of express relay logic. Very epic to see. Classic. Classic. Yeah, that's how it works. It's a piano. And now we're up onto the roof of the building. And now we go along to Portsmouth and to an abandoned hospital. Let's explore this old abandoned hospital and see what lifts it's got. And along to the children's ward. And this ward, there's some very creepy clowns on the wall. Whoever ever painted these clowns is someone who is clearly out of touch with children, who thought painting weird clowns would somehow appeal, when to be honest, I think these clowns do the opposite. I think these scare the children in this ward. And onto the roof of the hospital. And now along to the first lift. Oh no, I forgot my long drop key. Don't worry, we have coat hanger key. The moral of the story is, if you don't have a drop key, you have a coat hanger. Bit modernised on a 2-to-1. Proper counterweight. That was a right vintage, nice 60s or even 50s. That is a proper lift. Had a bit of a Dewhurst mod, ILE mod. Other than that, it's all original. So let's try and drive it. Obviously, it won't drive. Now let's open up the inner door. Now we can go inside it. Inside, it is utterly ruined. I was showing for such a big, epic lift, and it's now being Dewhursted. Ugh. And now we go up to the motor room. It is an ILE. I hope for something a bit rarer. And now to the swimming pool. It's swimming time. You want to go for a swim? And now got along to a radioactive imaging room, which has got some interesting machines that take what I'd describe as passive X-rays, because rather than being a regular X-ray machine that transmits X-rays and then has a reader that receives it, this just has the readers where people were injected with a radioactive tracer, and these machines then detect how the tracer goes around people's bodies. Very weird to see this sort of equipment just abandoned in this hospital. And now we go along to the next lift. And on the outside, this lift looks nothing special. It's been modernised. But into the motor room, and it's a very rare 1920s Waygood Otis lift. I've never seen a lift quite like this. I assume it's 20s, maybe it's 30s, or maybe it's older, I don't know. And it's got a winding drum motor. Now, I've never seen a lift like this before. This is rare, and the lift has got wooden tracks. No way, is that winding drum? What the fuck, I've never seen one like this. It's got wood. Look at lift tracks, got wood on them. What date is this? This is old. This is older than 1930s. This is like 1900 or something. God. This is extremely old. Waygood Otis AC motor. Oh no, it doesn't have date.
That's your lift. Ka-ching. That's the lift. That's bizarre. I've never seen it like that.
The thing is, the lift is actually counterweighted. It's a counterweighted lift with a winding drum. And now we go along to the next lifts which have been demolished. We're now on the bridge and lifts and stairs. See those two squares? There's the lifts. Oh well, those lifts will never be seen again. But we can still get into the motor room.
Oh, okay. Right.
What logic is it? There we go. Ooh. Not seen this model before. 375 microcomputer. Very early cone. This is like the simple version of TMS. So rather than the full TMS, the simplistic hydraulic 2-speed version looks like this. And now along to the next lift, which has been added into the middle of a stairwell.
This big building on the end, so now we're in the big building. This one, scary lift journeys.
Been ruined. Someone's ruined it, how dare they. First your lift is buffered, sitting on your buffers. There's your lift shaft. And into the motor room. That is a tiny hydraulic tank for all that impressive lift. You've got a tiny tank. Funny, and you've got, oh, same one again. Microprocessor, same as we saw previously. And now we go into the blood laboratory. This is where they process the blood tests, and what is so creepy and weird about this laboratory is there's still blood samples in here. This has been abandoned for years and there's still old blood samples, a complete biohazard. How were these left behind when the building was abandoned?
No anticoagulant. So that's blood, because that's no anticoagulant, that's somebody's blood. Look, some of these have got globs in. Look at that.
So that's blood and they've diluted it or something?
That's blood that's been allowed to congeal. Look at this. It's like bloody
Biohazard.
It's like bloody Dracula's castle in here, isn't it? Like, this is all the different types of... You know, this is 1979 vintage. Blood. This is... millipore. Millipores.
So then, we now leave the hospital and go along to some cliffs in Portsmouth which have some tunnels in them. We climb up the cliffs to the tunnels where some random children decide to give us a guided tour of the tunnels.
Does it go down very far?
Not really, no. It's like a little gap though, it's a tiny gap where you have to like, it's really small. It's like quite a small gap. Yeah.
Ah,
And then, yeah.
that's cool.
Makes it like a water tunnel
And the
now.
stairs down there.
Excellent. Whoa. Nice little tunnel. And stairs.
Big, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
There's lots of little dippings and all, so down there you should be like... And then
It's quite hard to get out though.
yeah, it's a little bit hard. Yep. There's a little dip in there.
Alcoves. Yeah, it's pretty good condition. Like people have been painting colours on the walls by the looks of it.
It's not wrecked too much though.
Oh, goes at the other end.
Oh yeah,
And now we go along to an abandoned cinema in Portsmouth. Let's go and explore it. Well, the cinema is flooded. Who wants to watch the Benno show? It's a swimming show. You have to swim at the same time as watching your theatre show because all the seats are now underwater. Down that way, but well, you could go for a swim, but it looks disgusting. And that way it goes up to a door. And let's now go upstairs in this cinema to the upper cinema screen.
I was expecting it to go like.
Yippee! A B-faced computing video!
And now we go along to Swindon, and along to a very trashed abandoned building.
A floor. Yeah. The windows aren't really stone glass. That. Giant Swindon chamber. Oh, that's like a little.
Oh, it's still intact.
Not really high. And ladies.
There's your safety curtain. It's fucking trashed. And now we go along to Bentham Quarry. This is an underground quarry, and to get to it you go down a long ladder. And here at the bottom of the ladder, this is a deep underground stone quarry. In this quarry they cut out blocks of stone which were used to build the buildings in the town of Bath. And pretty much all of the buildings in the town of Bath were built with this stone. Let's take a look around this deep underground quarry. It is very interesting. And along to the swimming pool. Now actually this is a water tub. It's very interesting looking, but I wouldn't take a swim in it because I don't know what's in that water. Let's carry on exploring this underground quarry. And along to the main workers area. This is where the workers used to rest and get changed when this was open as a quarry. And along to the cannabis grow rooms. That's right, some druggies took over this abandoned quarry and turned it into a cannabis drugs den. And these people have been arrested and sent to prison ages ago, and we can take a look at the remains of their cannabis grow den. And here is the used soil from the pots that had cannabis plants in, just dumped in the middle of the quarry. And this was a big operation. Just look at how many pot plants they would have had. And over here we can see bits of cannabis plants, obviously the bits of the plant which they were not interested in, and they just dumped on the floor. And we can see there's a lot of stuff lying around from when they used to grow cannabis. Look at all this stuff they've got. This was such a big cannabis operation, and they got away with it for such a long time until they were eventually caught. And there is cannabis grow tents. This is so weird. I don't really know why I thought I'd get away with it, even though it's in a quarry. I would eventually get found out. No one's going to be able to grow cannabis forever without being noticed, and eventually they did get caught.
There's another tank in there. Where's the boiler? Oh yeah, spiral holes, so you pump the water on the edges and you burn in the centre.
Good idea.